Um, hello, YouTube fans. This is TheSkullKlown. So, I'm here to talk about Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire. Let me just. Okay, all right. I don't know why it's kind of lagging right now. I don't know if it is, but whatever. So, anyways, uh, let's talk about this movie. First, you see Khan gunning from a whole bunch of beast dog type of titans, and he set like a trap for them, and one of them falls down. The other one, I believe, tries to go after Khan. Then or Khan grabs one of the dead bodies and he like breaks them into and shit like that. Blood is pouring all over Khan, and Khan's like, freaking badass, and all the was it wolf like creatures were like, yeah, I'm bouncing. So they left, and Khan takes his food to his lair, and then all of a sudden you see Doug grabbing his food, and he's like, and Doug is like, bye, bitch. And Connor's like, no. But anyways, after that, Con hears like a noise that he thinks is one of his own, basically. Um, he also checks that he has like a fucked up tooth and stuff like that. So, and then he he investigates that the noise where it's coming from, and it's just a frog creature that makes the same sound as the Cons, basically. Which is cool. I love the monsters design. I love the Harlem monsters in this movie. They're all great. They're all fucking amazing. You even see some ones that are from Godzilla vs Kong. You know, those like what is it? Those owl-like creatures. Yeah, they're in this movie too. But they look more evolved. They look a little bit more different this time around. Like they have like crystals on their back or something like that, or more spikes on their back or something. Maybe I didn't notice that in Kong vs Godzilla, but in Godzilla X Kong, they look a little bit different, basically. So moving on. Um, so then you get a scene of Godzilla destroying another kaiju, which is most likely a reference to Godzilla 1998, the animated series, because there's a same freaking monster that looks exactly like that Zilla fights in the show, or should call it Godzilla fights in the show. And when I saw that shit, I'm like, someone was a fan of the 1998 version of the animated series of Godzilla, you know. And then when the tentacles cover Godzilla's mouth and shit like that, he goes and just destroys that fucking Titan, literally kills him and shit like that. Blood is all over Godzilla. Godzilla's roaring, and then it just says Godzilla X Con. But if you watched it on bootleg, like I did, it'll be something on Spanish. Godzilla Y Con. Godzilla Y Con. Yo, that shit's hilarious, man. That is fucking hilarious. Instead of just X, it's a Y, you know. But yeah, that's so fucking funny. Well, moving on. Um, then you have, let's see. Then you get some of the main characters trying to figure out how to keep Godzilla and Kong separated, basically. How to keep it that way, and how to figure out other things for Kong and Godzilla, basically. And they get a few characters, and to be honest, I don't mind the human characters in this movie. A lot of people say that they'll barely do anything and all that, but when we hear like, oh, so I guess the monsters are not the characters anymore. I've been saying this forever with the Godzilla movie. Stop acting like the monsters are not characters. I'm tired of that shit. Stop acting that way. Because this movie literally proved that, hey, you don't need new human characters. All you need is a fucking guy monster. Look at all the scenes with Kong with all his expressions and everything like that. Even Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla had expressions too when he was kicking Kong's ass. He did that nuclear breath on him, and Kong got stunned in his back, and Godzilla was like he smiling and shit. Come on, guys. Godzilla has very expressionable emotions here in this movie too. When he's looking at Mothra. Spoiler alert. By the way, I will put it in the title just in case if anyone walks by and just sees it. But moving on. Uh, So eventually, Khan is trying to find his own kind, and he sees this little monkey. He sees this little ape that he's like, oh my god, and he tries to comfort it and everything like that, saying to him it's okay. And then all of a sudden, that little shit bites him. He bites him, and I'm over here like, okay, I can see this happening. Like if it was like old school type of Toho, that you would never see that shit. Like if it was like Son of Godzilla, that shit would never happen. Even though if there was a remake of Son of Godzilla and Godzilla sent that to Godzilla, I will laugh as fuck. That would be hilariously awesome. But Godzilla in this movie is great, in my opinion. He's great. He's the highlight, obviously. Some people might say that this is more of a con movie, which I will get to that soon. I don't hate con. Not to say there's not other Godzilla movies that show less of Godzilla than more of other monsters or other characters. You know how many Godzilla movies I've seen that do that? This movie doesn't do any different. But me, I was just kind of not hoping, I was trying to, not even expecting, I just wish that they had Godzilla more in it, basically. But they were like, hey, if we can barely use them, we're going to use them on some scenes that are good, epic, and worth it. And I'm like, no, that's fine. That's totally fine. You guys did that well. And you even see how Godzilla feeds in this movie, which I love that they did that. When I saw that shit, I'm all like, oh shit, they're showing how he feeds. Finally. I mean, not to say I don't know how he feeds. We freaking saw that in Godzilla 1984 slash 1985, aka The Return of Godzilla. Damn, there's a lot of names to that movie, huh? But that movie alone shows how Godzilla feeds nuclear power plants, basically. In that movie, he just grabs the nuclear radiation, basically, and he holds it, and he's like he takes the energy from it, and you can see his dorsal plates blinking and stuff like that. But in this one, he literally sucks the energy and stuff like that. Not to say he doesn't do that anyways, but in the older version, he just grabs it and holds the energy like that. Tries to grab it with his bare hands and absorbs it like that instead of just using his mouth and absorbing it itself. So there is that. But I'll get to that part soon. So there's a part that I really do like when you have a character that takes care of the monsters and he's fixing Khan's teeth. More of that, please. When that happened in that movie, I'm all like, oh, okay, we're gonna get more stuff like this. Well, I'm not wrong, but I'm not right either. Because you could tell they wanted to be that fun type of character, like you see that what they called him, Ace Ventura guy. He even dresses as him, which is hilarious. But I didn't mind the characters in this movie. The main heroine, the death girl, and everything like that. They're great. I love the chemistry. I'm glad that she adopted her and everything like that. And now she's having what is it like she's having like visions of Khan and Godzilla and stuff like that, especially Khan and what's to come and everything like that. And then she writes stuff down on she writes the pattern down of the frequency of what's happening on the planet, basically, in Hollow Earth, most likely. And her mom, or basically her foster mother, is like looking at it, and she's like, "Wait a minute, holy shit!" Because earlier they showed it to her, and she couldn't put two to two together once she saw the paper that her daughter did. But she saw it later on when she was grabbing the beer and just drinking it, and then looking at it, and she was like, "Holy shit!" They didn't have to do that. They could have just cut that scene, and then once she saw the picture of what her daughter drew, she would have been like, "I know what this is," and then that's it. That could have been fine. If you would have cut that scene out and have her explain it right there when the teacher told her and gave her that paper, she could have been. You could have saved a little bit more time, probably showing another Godzilla scene. That's just me. That is just me. That scene right there, her figure it out right there, drinking and stuff like that. That scene could be cut. I think that's the only scene that could have been cut in the movie, and then the rest I don't think should have been cut. But I think that's the only scene that should have been cut in the movie. That's the only one that I can think of that should have been cut. And and plus it will make you go faster to where the movie wants to go. Basically, not to say it doesn't take long at all. I think it's the same pace as Godzilla X Kong. I mean Godzilla versus Kong. This is Godzilla X Kong, but Godzilla versus Kong. I think that one has almost like the same pace as this movie. I believe. Um, Even though it is a little 1 minute longer. Wow, 1 minute longer. That's going to change the difference. From what I believe, there's no post credits. There's no post credits from what I can remember. So moving on. So Kong gets a new tooth. Looks badass, by the way. And they go to Hollow Earth along with Khan. And Khan eventually finds again that the little Khan that I'm talking about. And that little Khan man is trying to fuck him over every chance he gets. For kind of like he automatically have other big Khans trying to fight Khan and stuff like that, or all these other apes are trying to fight Khan, and then Khan pushes one over a cliff, and then he grabs one because he doesn't want him to die, brings him over, and then he starts like the other fucking ape, and Khan was like, "Fuck that," and he goes like, "Ah!" I'm over here like, well, what do you suspect? To both apes, to be quite honest with you. You're gonna grab him, like he was gonna stab you anyways, and then you idiot. Of course he was gonna push you down there if you were gonna attack him again, dumbass. you know. So I mean, I don't have a problem with that scene. I just thought it was really, really funny. Um, and then all of a sudden he grabs the little Khan and beats the living shit out of the other Khan. I'm like, beating up another motherfucker with another motherfucker. I started dying my ass off when I saw that shit. I was just like, holy shit, this shit is funny as fuck. You know, I thought it was funny as hell. The other guy tried to leave and everything like that. Like he was still kind of doing retreat, basically, And all of a sudden, Khan gets like a rock and goes like, whoa. And I'm like, it's gonna hit him like a cartoon character. Yo, they really had fun with the CGI in this movie. They really did. They really, really did. They really did, man. The stuff with Khan, him, being a badass, um, him being a badass, him, fighting the other apes and stuff like that. That shit was fun, and fighting the other wolf monsters too in the beginning. That shit was fun. In my opinion, when it comes to the human characters, I'm not saying that's bad or anything like that. I do like it. It's just that if you're going to focus on a human character, at least focus on these two characters, and you can have that third character too. And if you are going to bring a fourth character, then okay, just there's some scenes that you don't really need those characters to talk about. I mean, to be mentioned. They could just come in and be like, "Oh yeah, remember me from that other movie?" That's really it. You know how to introduce the brother at all, which is kind of funny because when they introduce that brother, they show a figure of Kong, which is the same figure I have in my freaking room, and then they pan to him, and then he also has a figure of Godzilla. I'm over here like, okay, I guess this is the fan base. That's how I felt when I was watching the scene. I'm like, this is the fan base. uh, but anyways, I'm glad he does come back in this movie. I really do. I can't remember the actor's name, but I liked him in Godzilla vs Kong. In this movie, is he needed? Not really. But if you really want to connect Godzilla and Kong with those two characters, then there you go. I always wanted these characters also to cross over with the Godzilla King of the Monsters characters, but they still haven't. I'm still wondering why the fuck they still haven't done that. Are they waiting? We're talking about crossovers here, and you guys did just decide not to cross over with these other actors. Are you using these other Godzilla movies? These American ones? Come on, guys. I can understand maybe not the 70s version of like the Card Skull Island cast because they'll be old as fuck. You could still probably use them, but they'll be old as fuck. You have to put a lot of makeup effects on Loki and Brie Larson and stuff like that. But I think they would do it. Especially the guy that played Loki, because I don't think he's doing anything right now. He just got out of Loki, and that show is amazing. Please watch it if you haven't finished it at all. I love that ending of to that show, man. I love that ending to that show. It's just so good. It really is good, man. Seriously, that's gonna be remembered for a long, 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 long time. Even if people say that, oh man, this was so great, and then eventually they fucked it up by other things, and now I can't watch Loki. I'm just gonna be like, well, they fucked it up in another show. It's not like they grabbed Loki and fucked it up. No, they just fucked up somewhere else. But Loki is still fine, still contact, basically, you know. So I don't get when people do that. I really don't. When one thing is fucked up and the other one isn't, they'll be like, well, let's write it all off. What are you, Vince McMahon? The fuck's wrong with you? Oh man. But so eventually the little Khan gives up and he helps Khan, but he lures Khan to a lake, a big giant lake that has a giant serpent in it. And then Khan's like, he's drinking water and shit like that, and Khan's like, and then that serpent comes and shit like that. Tries to, Khan tries to grab the axe, and then the serpent grabs him and pulls him to the freaking water and shit like that. When I was watching that fight, I'm like, please, he fought Godzilla. This is nothing, you know. Even with the other apes that were fighting him in the beginning of the movie, I'm always here like, this guy has fought a fucking flaming dragon. You guys are nothing. You guys are nothing. Literally, you guys are nothing. And if you ran into Godzilla, Godzilla would just be like, done. He would just grab you, nuclear breath you, and drop you and walk away. You're that unimportant to him, basically. You know, that's why I love him in the series. Ever since Godzilla versus well, yeah, ever since the Godzilla King of the Monsters and stuff like that. I think he's always been I think they just made him into a badass even more and everything like that. Then it's even more there once he fights Khan basically in the next movie. So moving on, eventually the little Khan brings the big Khan to the ape lair that they're at, and they're all walking, and some of them are they're and you even seen some Khan heads on sticks showing that if they disobey they're gonna die. Or maybe other intruders of Khan came in, try to help, and then they died. Who knows? There's a whole backstory on that we could just chew upon just by theorizing. Maybe I love that shit. I love the whole expressions with Khan in this movie is the best highlight of the whole movie. You know, and I know a lot of people might say that if you took the human characters out and just left the monsters, it literally, that's all it needed to be. You know, and I wouldn't mind that. You know, again, the human characters don't do bad. I'm fine that they're there. I'm actually happy that they brought some of these characters back too, and we have a new character basically. So I thought it was cool. I really dope. You did had a wink to that the Ace Ventura character and the character that adopted the deaf girl. Both of them, I almost said blind. No, she's not blind. She's deaf. Both of them used to date. It was hinted of that and stuff like that. But it is cool that how they mention it. It's like one time I dated a girl and she was just so lame. You know, she won a bachelor's degree. He's like, yeah, sounds like a dumb girl. Some shit like that. You know, I thought it was kind of funny. You know, I thought it was kind of fun stuff like that because this movie is fun. That's all it needed to be. A nice, fun monster movie to sit back, relax, get some popcorn, get some friends, get some family members ready, and watch a wild ride against monsters that are freaking killing each other. That's all you needed to see, and that's what you got. You know. So moving on. So Khan is in that ape lair, and and he tries to help another Khan out because he's getting bullied by another ape, and the ape that he helps, I mean, that Khan helps that ape that got bullied, and then the ape that bullied the other ape is looking at Khan, screaming at him, like you know how someone is like screaming at Stone Cold Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin like this, or that scene in the remake of Charlie's Angels when you see the military guy screaming at what's her name, damn, I forgot that actress's name. But like the military guy's like screaming at one of the Charlie's Angels girls, and she's like being cross-eyed here, and then it's like punches him and walks away and quits the military because she's better than that shit. It's like I really don't get the hate for the remake of Charlie's Angels, by the way. I like the second one too, but it's not good as the first one. So I'm saying that right now. I know a lot of people don't like that movie, but I grew up, I watched it so many times with my mom and sister. It's to the point that I'm like, guys, if you think that's bad, then apparently you can't watch The Room or something or anything else that is so bad that's good. I'm not saying that movie is so bad it's good. I'm just saying that you can't watch a so bad it's good movie to literally be like appreciate any other movie that can just be itself, you know? So that's just me. It's almost like this movie. That's why when the critics hated it, I was just laughing. I'm like, of course you would hate this movie. You hate everything. But moving on. So Khan punches that other ape. It's fucking hilarious. And then the other big, then the main villain, Skull comes and he's laughing at Khan. He even looks at his tooth and he's laughing at him. And they start brawling a little bit, which is a pretty good brawl. I liked it. You know, he uses the chain whip and everything like that. Khan gets scratched in his hand a bit like that. You think that's the reason why he got the glove? That's not the reason why he got the glove. That's not the reason why he got the glove. There's a reason why he got the glove. Obviously, this is spoiler territory. It is on the thing, so here's some spoilers. Eventually, he calls Shimu, and Shimu is huge. Huge. She is towering just in 4 legs of freaking Khan. She is just towering. She's just overlapping that of Khan. It's just crazy. All the apes are backing away, you know, and then Skull King is using the crystal that's in the chain and stuff like that. And at first, Shimu doesn't want to do it, but then she is controlled by the crystal, and then all of a sudden, she does her nuclear breath, which is ice, and Khan grabs his axe and freaking dodges it with his axe and goes like this, knocks it down, and then all of a sudden he tries to block it with his hand, and oh, so good, man. That fight part right there was so good. And then that little Khan was like, "You gotta run, get the fuck out of here!" And no, Khan left. He jetted out of there. He yeeted out of there. Yeet. So he got the fuck out of there. And then Skull King picked up Khan's axe and he was like, you know, and everything like that. Khan got away while the other apes, I believe, were going after Khan. And Khan has like a whole bunch of traps everywhere. He was literally like, people mentioned he was kind of like Rambo in this movie, and I agree. Like, apparently he was setting traps all over Hollow Earth, and apparently he went through an area that he set traps in, and a few apes fell in and stuff like that. That was hilarious, you know. And there was one trap that he put that didn't work that well, but then the little Khan helped him, and it just completely fell on the other Khans and stuff like that. And Khan was this close to fight back, but his hand was just fucked up, you know. So he collapses, you know. He just sits there and he's just tired and shit like that. And then he hears something. And he goes to find it. Like, he just senses something, so he goes to find it. Meanwhile, the main characters, find find a temple. They find a ancient temple for ancient people, and there's ancient people there, and they're the ones that have been calling and doing the messaging for Hollow Earth, basically asking for help and stuff like that, mainly because they know that Skull King wants to take over, basically, and the only people that can stop it is Godzilla and Kong, and they know that because at one point Godzilla used to fought them, and he contained them where they're at right now, just to make sure that they're there. And I like that little backstory because it just shows why Godzilla literally told Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong to back down, and Kong was just like, and Godzilla was like, motherfucker. So that right there, you could tell Godzilla is not a big fan of the Kongs. Not really a big fan of the Kongs. And I hope you guys saw my enlightenment video about this movie. So if you haven't, let me know, and I'll probably give you a link to it. That is if you don't follow my other spiritual, like on my spiritual channel. Moving on. So after that, they find out about the what they have to do, and the only one that can save them is the little girl, that's now grown up. She's basically in high school right now, and she's the one to wake up Martha to literally tell Godzilla that, hey, we need your help and stuff like that. And Khan eventually goes to where they're at, and he's knocked out. And they literally were like, he can't survive around here if his arm is fucked up. His arm looked it bad. Khan's arm looked it bad, bad, bad. And then the Ace Ventura guy is like, I got something. And yo, I love this character. I fucking love this character. I can't hate him. I want more. If there's a sequel to this movie, put him in it more, please. All right. Or again, I don't care what else characters you put in. You can put the little girl in it too, and her mom. But to put that guy in it too. Put those three characters in there because I think they're the highlight of these stories for these monsters. But you can put other characters in there too. Again, like the conspiracy guy, I don't mind him being there and stuff like that. But in the next movie, he might not be in it, basically. But those other three characters might be in it. I'm just guessing. That's what I would do. Have those three characters, leave the conspiracy guy out, and have another new character. Maybe the people from the show Monarch. That would make sense, right? If you're not going to do a crossover with the other characters from like other Godzilla movies, then probably do one with the one from the Monarch show. Either that or just fuck the whole thing. No, that's just me because these characters are involved with this story, not just with the monsters, but with themselves with the monster. You know, I don't get the hate for Monarch, the show. It's actually pretty good. I know there's not a lot of monsters fight in it, but it's all about story. They needed something like this, anyways. The Monarch shit, they needed more of a bulk condensed story, and then showing monsters a few times, but still get that bulk of a story, basically, because you needed it. You needed it to the point that it expands a character or characters from the past and then leading up to now, basically, which they did, which I'm glad they did. Because some characters that some of the characters that we knew about in Consco Island are more fleshed out in that series, and I completely fell in love with it. And I'm just like, yeah, I want these. I want to see more of these characters. I want to see these characters cross over with the Godzilla versus Kong characters, which are now the Kong X Godzilla X Kong characters. So there is that. Other than that, the guy gets the freaking glove for Khan. How convenient that was in the Hollow Earth. How convenient. Supposedly it was the prototype, and supposedly they got it off of Mega Godzilla, I believe. I think they did, right? I think that's mentioned that they got it out of Mega Godzilla and made it. So it makes sense. After Mega Godzilla died, what do you think they're going to do with the parts? Either recreate another Mega Godzilla or recreate other weapons for monsters to use, or for them to use. You know, obviously some people in Monarch know that these monsters want to help, so obviously they made a giant gauntlet for for Khan. It's funny. Somebody mentioned, I think it was Jeremy, that red screen in the background. I think he mentioned that, hey, Bumblebee makes an appearance. I'm over here like, it's like, damn, came out Bumblebee's life. It's the Gauntlet Bumblebee. I'm like, damn, damn. So close, but yet so far. But anyways, I do like that gauntlet. I think it looks pretty badass on Khan. When it goes to Khan, it kind of hurts him a little bit, but then eventually he's like trying it out, and he's like, yeah, he likes it and shit like that. So then Khan goes straight up to the surface to call Godzilla, basically. And Godzilla, meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Godzilla goes into Antarctica, fights Tiamat, and that is a nice freaking fight right there. Tiamat tries to cover Godzilla's face, and then he does the nuclear breath, basically killing her and shit like that. And he goes to her lair, to literally take the energy that's in her layer so he can evolve. So when he evolves, he finally wakes up in Antarctica, which is a reference to Godzilla. For that's also a reference to King Kong versus Godzilla, the original. I like that. I like that they did that. Once I saw that in the trailer, I'm like, oh, you a fan, aren't you? Um, also a reference to Godzilla Rates Again, because that's how he got into in ice to begin with, basically. And how the end of that movie is with a kamikaze pilot in the eyes of an angel. Anyways, um, so other than that, so we fast forward. Like I said, Khan goes to the upper surface where the pyramids are at, where Egypt, and Khan climbs to the surface, and Godzilla is on the tippity top of like a mountain, basically. And Khan literally screams out to Godzilla, and Godzilla looks at him. He's like, jumps to the water, goes where Connor's at, and Connor's like, yo, wait, man, I gotta tell you something about this whole earth. And Godzilla punches him to the freaking pyramid, breaks it and shit like that. And Connor's like, yo, what the hell? And then Godzilla's about to do like a nuclear breath, I believe, right? Oh no, I think he does something, and then Godzilla tries to then Godzilla suplexes Khan, I believe. Oh, one of the I think somebody suplexes somebody, and then eventually Khan drags Godzilla like this, and I'm over here laughing my ass off. I'm like, oh my god, these guys had too much fucking fun with this shit. And then all of a sudden, Godzilla does his nuclear breath, and Khan is like, oh shit, purple, pink, that's new. He runs, and then they start fighting for a bit. It's just great. I love that the round two of Godzilla versus Kong happened. All right, and while this was happening, the little girl calls on Martha because she's the chosen one to call on Martha. So, and Martha comes, and she has a new look, new design. It's closer to the original Martha design, I believe, and she looks beautiful. I love the way Martha looks in this movie. More better than what she looked like in Godzilla King of the Monsters in 2019. Not to say I don't hate her in that movie. Are you kidding me? She's a badass in that movie. But in this movie, she's pretty cool. Also, not she doesn't get as much screen time, but she does what she needs to do for the sake of the story, and it's fine, perfectly fine. I'd rather have her be in the movie than some other generic monster that no one doesn't care about, which originally was going to be that. So I wonder what was the monster going to be until test audience were like, nah, because that's what happened. Test audiences were like, nah, we don't like that monster, and then all of a sudden they changed it. So who was it originally? Was it Rodan? I don't think so. Who was it originally? Was it a Mamuto? That would probably been interesting if it was. Very interesting. I'm just guessing. I don't even know. It could be anybody. It could be Godzuki for all the fucking know. For real. Imagine getting a reference to Godzuki. If you don't know who Godzuki is, you can't be a Godzilla fan. I'm saying that right now. You're not a Godzilla fan. You can't have the official license of you being a Godzilla fan if you don't know Godzuki. Okay? Seriously. But if it was going to be Godzuki, I would have been upset. I'm like, you mean to tell me we could have got Godzuki, but you replaced him with Martha? I love Martha, but we were going to have Godzuki again. We haven't seen him in a long ass time. Well, except for what? Um, Planet Godzilla, Planet of the Monsters, that stuff. When eventually there's like bat creatures that are like taking the form of like Godzilla's skin and stuff like that. It did remind me of Godzuki because they came off of Godzilla's because he's been on the planet for so many years. The whole planet took the shape of what Godzilla is, basically his whole essence of what his skin is and stuff like that. It's fucking amazing. I would never get the hate for that animated series. Would never get the hate. Would never get it. I would never get it. Never get it. I think people are just too stupid to understand science. Yeah, I said it. Yep, I said it. But moving on, in spiritual science, but moving on. You can hate me all day and I don't give a shit. You don't get that shit. Good thing I do though. That's all that matters. So, anyways, moving on. Godzilla and Kong, they fight for a minute, and then eventually Mothra comes, and Godzilla's about to do the nuclear breath on Kong, and Kong is like, ah! And Mothra just, I think just hits Godzilla or some shit, or she screams to the point that Godzilla falls, and he's like, what? And then Mothra is just like, we need your help, all right? And then Godzilla's like, he looks at, he looks at Mothra like this, and then he looks at Kong, and then Kong and Godzilla roar and stuff like that. Then they fly to the Hollow Earth. Boom! Meanwhile, while that's happening, King and the others, and with also Shimu, he's riding Shimu, which looks pretty cool. Um, they're riding with Shimu, and when they're walking with Shimu, everything is like turning to ice and everything like that. Everything's like decaying to dead snow and stuff like that. Everything's dying basically. And they come Godzilla and Kong are about to be. Uh, well, the main characters at. They go where the main characters at, where the little girls at also, and they're like, oh shit! And then all of a sudden, a little like Kong and Godzilla fall back to the Hollow Earth, crashes, and then Godzilla comes up. Like you see in the trailer. Then Kong comes up. Then they're racing to fight Shimu and King. Then Kong rides Godzilla for a minute, and then they both face each other. And then all of a sudden, zoom, float up in the air. And like all King's foes, and you got Godzilla and Kong, and even the little Kong floating up in the air because the two crystals were about to connect, and they even used Shimu to ice the crystals for a bit, but to no avail. And they kept fighting in the air and stuff like that. Even Shimu got even used her was it ice breath on Godzilla to freeze him, but it didn't work at all. Even Martha got into the fight, So there was a good fight scene in the Hollow Earth and stuff like that. But I thought that was going to be like the end, in my opinion. When I first saw the trailer, I thought that would be like the final end. Like we're going to see the fight in the city and then eventually go to the Hollow Earth. I thought that would be the end fight. But no, we didn't get that. We got the Hollow Earth fight, and then we went back up to the surface. Okay. So eventually they go back to the surface because once the gravity stops, they all fall down and they all fall into the portal to the hollow to the upper atmosphere of the Hollow Earth. So once they get there, especially with Shimu and King, Shimu clears the skies with her ice breath, and then eventually Khan and Godzilla they fight King and Shimu, and in the city they fight each other in the city, and eventually little Khan sees the axe and realizes that Khan didn't grab the axe. He left his axe behind. So he brought him to himself. He he figured to himself that hey, might as well help him. And that's what happened. He grabbed it, fell back to the portal, went to the upper atmosphere where Khan, Godzilla, and Shimu and King are fighting. And then he comes. Eventually, Khan is trying to grab the axe to destroy the crystal, because that's how Shimu is controlled and everything like that. He's even using the crystal on Shimu for him to attack stuff. And you see Godzilla fighting Shimu, obviously. You could tell kind of Godzilla was trying to probably, talk to Shimu a little bit. Shimu just was not listening because she was controlled. You can even tell from her eyes. Her eyes was glowing. She was being controlled and stuff like that. And what is it? Then what is Then eventually, like King grabs like a building with his chain, throws it at Khan and stuff like that. A lot of epic stuff in that battle and stuff like that. A lot of people dying were never mentioned, and that's fine. But you know how many times I've always sat there in all these Godzilla movies? I'm like, look at that monster battle, and look at those people dying. My friend, everyone else. So that's kind of funny. Anything else? Because this movie's almost over, and I went like almost 40 minutes long. Look at this. Now it's 39 minutes, but it's going to be 40 minutes soon. So eventually, going towards the end, you have again, Khan is trying to destroy the crystal from the whip that Sqawn has. Eventually, Sqawn drops the crystal and stuff like that, and Khan's trying to destroy it. Sqawn is like, no, trying to grab. Even one point, Khan does a jump like a football jump, tries to grab it, and Sqawn grabs him like this and shit like that. Yo, they did a lot of wrestling, a lot of football stuff with these fighting scenes. Excuse me. And then after that, Khan can't grab the crystal until little Khan comes, has the crystal, and smashes that shit. And then all of a sudden, Shimu is out of it. She wakes up out of her state of possession, basically. And Godzilla and Khan just go at it and destroy Sqawn. Khan is beating the shit out of him. Khan throws Sqawn to Godzilla, and Godzilla just turns around and whips him with his tail and shit like that. And then Godzilla is like Khan holds Sqawn and stuff like that. And Godzilla tells Shimu, attack that motherfucker. And Shimu's like, freezes that motherfucker. And then Khan looks at him, and Shimu is like looking at him with his eyes moving, and then Khan just smashes him, just smashes the shit out of him, Donkey Kong style, basically. So, other than that, this movie was fun. And by the end, they both go their separate ways. You see Martha even a little bit at the end. Godzilla goes back to the surface, and then Khan goes back to Hollow Earth. And there's a scene where the adopted mom and the Death's daughter, because the whole movie, she through the whole movie she wasn't really feeling that she belonged and stuff like that. But since she found her people in the Hollow Earth, her mom thought, hey, maybe you want to stay with your people. But she's like, I'm with you. It doesn't, I can always come here, yeah, but I basically I can always come here, but you're my family. I'm up in the surface. That's where I belong, basically. Which is true because she originally did deserve. Really, originally she is part of Skull Island, and Skull Island is on the Hollow Earth. There was entrances to the Hollow Earth, like for skull crawlers and maybe even Khan, but they don't live underground. Not like the people that you see in this movie. They do. They don't. So that it's kind of cool that they don't mention that, but you could tell that that's what they're trying to get behind, but they didn't have to explain that. You could just tell by watching the movie, anyways. So and that's it. I think that's the movie. That was a pretty fun monster movie. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. I give it a solid 8 out of 10. The reason I'm kind of little because after I watched the movie the first time I watched it, I was bummed out. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first watched this movie, I was bummed out. I was like, "What the fuck did I just watched?" I was literally getting pissy. I'm like, the monster fights are fine and everything like that, but why do I feel like something was fucking missing? Why do I feel like something was missing from this epicness of a movie? Why does it feel like it's lackluster? Like, you know how I felt with Curse of Chucky when it was like funny as fuck. No, Cult of Chucky, Cult. When it was funny as fuck, and then by the end it was deflated as fuck. But that was a situation with Cult of Chucky with different things. With this movie, it's a different situation also. This one I felt deflated, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And at least with Cult of Chucky, I'm more like, I feel deflated, and I'm not watching that shit most likely ever again. With Kong and Godzilla, felt deflated, but the second time I watched it, I had a fucking blast. I noticed some things I didn't notice before, and then other things I was just like, yo, I fucking loved it, you know? And the first time I did watch the movie, I wasn't disagreeing with the critics. It's funny too, because when I did first watch the movie, the critics didn't give it that bad of a score. But when I first watched it, I was just like, I'm surprised the critic score is not lower than this. And then it kept getting lower and lower, and I'm like, oh, now you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. So in a way, I kind of agree with the critics, but more lean to the audience of what's up with this. And yes, I've always talked shit about the critics and stuff like that, but I think this is like one of the only times, or maybe a few rare times, that I've actually agreed a little bit with the critics more than the audience. The audience gave this a 92, I believe, which it does deserve that number for the funness, for the epicness of these two characters on screen, Godzilla and Kong. But again, something else was missing. You know, I've been mentioning this in another video saying that Shimu and King are just another versions of Kong and Godzilla. That silence should say all. And I don't mind that. I'm glad we have new monsters and stuff like that. But I don't the more I think about it now, obviously, I was even thinking about this when I was watching the movie a couple of times. I just wanted more of Godzilla in it. If Kong's going to get the same enough screen time, hey, I want Godzilla to have that much of a screen time too. Kind of like what you see in Who Framed Roger Rabbit with Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse, basically. I want them to have the same freaking screen time, but we can't have everything, and that's fine. But what Godzilla did in this movie, what they let him do in this movie, I had no complaints. Had no complaints whatsoever. Every time Kong was with the humans, I told myself I want fights with Kong, and then when Kong was fighting, that's all I give a shit about. Again, going back, I don't hate the human characters. I don't. But going back, these monster characters are characters too. And I feel like a lot of people forget about that. You know, they had everything that I wanted, and yet something else was missing. You know, I don't know what was missing. I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it was the after credits. I mean, after credits of the movie. Because I mean, I didn't see anything because the bootleg just ended after that. But I heard there's no after credits in the movie, I believe. But maybe if they did put one, I think I'd probably been a little bit more satisfied because we always had like end cutscenes and end clips at the end of these at the end of these movies, except for what the original Godzilla that came out 2014. So when so I think that is it, and the whole thing with Godzilla not being in it as much. But again, going back, I've seen so many Godzilla movies I barely have them in it. So why do I still feel this way? You know, um, deep down, I still feel in my core that it's kind of lackluster, but not lackluster to the point that people might think that what I feel. They might feel like, oh, it's lackluster because of A and B and C, but I'm going to be like, no, it's not lackluster because of that. It's lackluster because I feel like something is missing to the point that it will make it so better into a bow. That's the only thing. That's only it. That's only it. I do not know what's missing, but there is something that is missing that will tie up nicely as a bow. And that's why I think what I mentioned before, the end credit scene, I think that's what we needed. And what we could have had at the end credit scene, I know a lot of people pointed out what is it, Space Godzilla. I don't think we're going to get Space Godzilla, guys. I love Space Godzilla, I do, but I don't think we're going to get him. I don't think we're going to get him. I believe we will get more of Destroyer than Space Godzilla, in my opinion. But there's something that should we even get Destroyer at this point now? I mean, eventually I think we will, but should the next movie you think we should have Destroyer? Because I feel like Destroyer or Destroyer is a character that you should use if you're gonna end a saga or end a series and then do a next series. That's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. So what's the next Monster Mash? Is it Destroy All Monsters? I mean, technically, this movie was a Destroy All Monsters movie. And plus, the whole disappointment factor, like I said before, if you watch Godzilla vs. Kong, and then this one, the new Empire, back to back, I guarantee you, it's perfect. I think that's one of the reasons, too, that I probably was, like, feeling empty inside. I was just like, maybe if I watch Godzilla and Kong and then this movie back to back, I think I'll be probably more satisfied. You know, I just haven't done that yet. You know, but I'll do it one day. I probably might do it tomorrow or something like that. I don't know. But I'll do it. I catch. Well, I would do that, and then eventually I'll put my thoughts on how I feel about the movie and stuff like that. But overall, I had a good time. Um, it was like a mix of disappointments sometimes, but overall, I did not complain. I still had fun. Godzilla looked great. Kong looked great. I like the new monsters, and Mothra is great too. So other than that, I have no complaints. It does deserve the money that it gets. It does deserve the tomato score that the audience gave and the critics made. It does deserve both of those, in my opinion. Again, going back, it's very rare that I agree with the critics, but this is one of the times I'm all like, no, yeah, I don't disagree at all. It's funny, like I said before, once it was like 60%, I'm all like, oh, so for you guys, it's watchable. Me, I'm over here like pissed off a little bit. And then then it kept decreasing the critic score. And then when I watched it the second time, I'm over here like, this is fun. Oh man, this is yo. So that's how I felt with the movie. That's really how I felt with the movie. If I was gonna give it um which movie from the MonsterVerse do I think is the most better and the most fun? Well, Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019. That's number one for me. Godzilla vs. Kong. Um, Kong Skull Island. Then the New Empire, and then Godzilla 2014. That's my list. That is my list. Some people might be disappointed in my list, but those are my lists. They might change over time because we might get more of this stuff, obviously, which we will most likely. It's making money. I think this is like the only type of money that Warner Brothers was getting. They were like, yeah, we need more of this. And I bet you Disney and Warner Brothers with the whole superhero stuff, they're looking at this and they're like, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong that the monster series is not is doing right? And I'm over here like, because they're doing it for the fans. Stupid concept. You're actually getting people that are fans to make this shit. Stupid concept. Stupid fucking concept. Like if Steven Spielberg was going to make a Godzilla movie, I totally would have been like, yeah, I'll watch that shit because he's a fan. Even people that watch Godzilla minus one would literally say that is like a Steven Spielberg movie, and it is. It really is. It gave me Steven Spielberg vibes when I watched that movie, especially that scene when Godzilla's in the water and he's chasing them and shit like that. Oh my god, that shit was epic. I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool. It's just really cool. So I'll see you guys later. What do you guys think about Godzilla X Kong, the new Empire? So I should review the Frozen Empire soon. So when I get to that, so that's it. And what a good time to be a Godzilla fan. To be quite honest with you, I had fun as fuck. The fact that we got Godzilla minus one and then this movie, like, oh my god, awesome, just fucking awesome. Obviously, if I was a little kid and I saw this movie, I would say that it is a 10 out of 10. Watch it. I would have literally told you that as a kid. As an adult, I'm 30-year-old man. I'm gonna be like, it's an 8 out of 10. Fun monsters and stuff like that. Feel like something was missing. No, it wasn't the human stuff. It was just something missing. That's all it was. I don't know how to explain it. I don't even know what was missing. It just felt like something was empty that was missing. That was it. You know, maybe a post-credit scene with King Ghidorah becoming Mega King Ghidorah or something like that, or getting a little crab monster in the ocean eventually becoming Destroyer, or a little piece of a DNA, just inside the Hollow Earth that eventually Godzilla was there, or then eventually just mutated into Biolante, stuff like that. I want Biolante though. If we gonna get Destroyer, I want Biolante. I want Biolante. Seriously. But hey, if we're gonna get Space Godzilla, then give me fucking Biolante. I know some people want Space Godzilla, but if people are voting for that, I want fucking Biolante. Seriously. I want Biolante more than freaking Destroyer, in my opinion. And Hedra. Oh, please, those two. Mainly because in this universe, in this monsterverse, they will work so fucking perfect. Forget about Space Godzilla. Leave that space stuff to King Ghidorah. You can literally have the next movie be about climate and all that. Have Hedorah, and then the next movie about the environment, and then you have freaking uh Biolante. You're already talking about the environment anyways, so either way, those two characters are just perfect. Perfect for the story. And then Destroyer is the match of the perfect being to destroy everything. That's how you end the series, in my opinion. I would have loved to see that shit. But it's up to them. It's up to them. Again, would love to see Hedra and Biolante. I would love to see them in this universe before Destroyer. But hey, that's just me. If I was making these movies, the next one I would have put was literally Godzilla versus Biolante, or Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. I would literally choose that. Because in my opinion, I think the next Godzilla movie, James Rouse was right about this. It should just be called Godzilla versus for the next one. And if Khan is in the movie, just give it a subtitle, like a Khan subtitle. Godzilla versus this. The Rise of the Khan Empire or something like that. You know? That's a nice title. Something new, something different, something that sticks out. That you know that Khan will be in it. But Godzilla is gonna go after somebody and he probably needs help with Khan. I mean, would it make sense if Godzilla was going after Biolante or the Smog Monster or even Destroyer? Wouldn't you think he would have help with Khan? You know, I think if you're gonna have all of those three characters in these new MonsterVerse movies, I think King Kong would have to come basically. And at that point, you have to forget about the human characters. At that point, you have to focus on the monster characters because if you really want to show these new monsters off, especially Biolante, Destroyer, and the Smog Monster, Biolante, Hedra, and Destroyer. If you want to really flesh them out and show them what they're capable of, you make them as a single, non-speaking movie with all these characters fighting each other. I would not fucking mind it at all. And you can have like characters in the back, talking and everything like that. But it'd be like almost like a documentary in a way. It won't be shot like a documentary, but it would feel like a documentary. It just be beautiful. I would love to see that shit. A movie about Godzilla and there's no humans talking at all, just the monsters going with their emotions and everything like that, and their facial features and stuff like that. Oh my god, sign me the fuck up. We got it here. I feel like we can get more of it, and I guarantee you the critics will praise that shit to the moon. Because I think that's the only thing why the critics actually hate this movie. Because of the stuff with the humans. It's not like fleshed out more or anything like that. But it's a B movie. You're here to see the monsters, not the people. And even the actors know you're not here to watch me, motherfucker. You're here, if you're watching me in this movie, I'm here as just exposition, and then here's the monsters. Bye-bye. Here's my paycheck. It was for free, and it was fun. Best paycheck I ever had in my whole life. Fastest paycheck I ever had in my whole life. Hey, can't blame that. Easy money, easy job, easy life, having fun. That's all what movies are about, baby. If anyone can't deal with that, then then why you watch movies? And why do we make movies? But I'll see you guys and be safe.